We ended up splitting. We had the goal. We got 2 in Seattle, but it could have been so much better. Today on Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily podcast on the Athletics, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Boonie, with special co-host Connor today. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. I'm from the Bay Area, and I've been a diehard A's fan since '81. This isn't just another A's podcast. This is the most informative and insightful show on the A's, period. We cover the A's every single day, breaking down games and delivering the latest team news and giving you deep, thoughtful analysis you will not find anywhere else. If it's happening in Sacramento or in Vegas, we got you covered. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. And please hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. Connor, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, Boonie, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely, man. How long you been in A's for? Tell us a little bit of your background, how long you been in A's for, where you live.
Well, I've been an A's fan since about 2010. Started following when I was a child, but that's around when I really got into it. And I live in Virginia, actually, so there's not really many A's fans around here.
Right. We're not many A's fans here, too.
That's true. With how divided everything's been lately. Yeah. But I became an A's fan because I originally was a Raiders fan. But then once I started getting into baseball, I just decided, you know what, I'll just pick the A's because – you know, they're close. They're also in Oakland with the Raiders. So it just made logical sense to roll with the A's. And I mean, it's been one of the best decisions of my life. Made so many great friends, met a lot of great people because of it, even going out there and everything. And yeah. Dude, I love the A's.
Tough one today.
Yeah, dude, that was brutal. I mean, the pitching, JP Sears, what an outing from him. And
he was phenomenal. 6 2/3. What do you have? 7 Ks, allowed 5 hits. He had that one mistake to Julio where he tried to get in a first pitch little slider in there, and he was sitting on it, and that was a wrap, man. That was a wrap. Yeah, it's brutal.
That's what baseball is, man. It only takes one pitch to just completely switch how the trajectory of the game and how everything's going. I mean, he was lights out for 6 innings and then gave up that homer.
Gio, what do you think of Urshela? He had a rough series, obviously. During the series, what was Urshela? I don't think he got a hit. Did he get 1 hit? 0 for 3, 0 for – yeah, he did get 1 hit. 7. He was 1 of 10 during the series. You like him?
I'm not too big of a fan of him. I'm always more for playing the young guys. So depending on like what his leash is, I feel like he's going to have a similar leash to like how Aledmus Diaz was last year to where if
2 years ago, I believe Diaz, right? 2 years ago? Was it last year? It's 2, I think.
Was he there last year? I believe he was there at the beginning of last year. Or I could be mixing up all
years ago. Yeah, but it might be wrong. But I'm a little rattled myself. He's. I think we got to give. I'm with you, Jesus. I'm not arguing with you on that one. The thing about Urshela is that the A's are not a good defensive team. They weren't a good defensive team last year. They're not a good defensive. So right now, believe it or not, he's our second best defensive player behind Geloff, who's out. So probably Urshela is our best defensive player, and he's just about an above average third baseman. He's not lighting it up by any means. I think the bat will come around, but at the same time, I mean, no one hit Connor. I mean, it wasn't just on Urshela. I mean, no one hit. Everybody struggled with the bat this weekend and the whole series. Like part of me feels like, okay, we should have easily got 3 of 4, but at the same time, I'm kind of happy we split, you know. Butler had a rough one. He had 2 hits in 15 at bats. Rooker, 2, 7, 12, 16. Rooker had 3 hits. So, you know, Andahar had a rough series. Andahar was 2 for 11 in the series. So it's not like, I mean, the only guy that really went nuts was Soderstrom. Soderstrom was, what was he, 3, 8, 12, 15, 7 of 15, I believe. I mean, he was.
Yeah, he had a monster series.
Yeah, he had a monster series. Sears was nuts today. So yeah, I don't know how to feel. You know, like I said, coming into it, I was like, hey, let's just get a split. And after game 1, I was like, just don't get swept. And so for us to win games 2 and 3, I'm like, all right. And yeah, you know what inning I felt like was critical? It was early. Let's see if I think we're thinking the same thing.
When they left 2 men on.
Yes, Soderstrom led off with a walk. Soderstrom led off with a walk. Wilson had the infield hit. Remember, boom. Urshela bunting it over second and third, 1 out. Paredes K's and Schumann first pitch pop out.
No, yeah, that was crucial. I mean, the runners in scoring position today, they just could not get a hit. And I heard Dallas give that stat early in the game where the A's were 7 for 16 with runners in scoring position this series, and it didn't feel like that. From watching these games and listening to these games, it just didn't feel like they were hitting as well as that stat was indicating that it was.
No, but because a lot of it came in game 2 of the series where we won 7-0, but really we got those runs for most of that game. It was a tight 2-0 game, and then Urias and Muncy hit homers when it didn't really matter. Blade and Rooker, same thing, hit base hits when it didn't really matter. So it was a little misleading on that one.
Yeah, a lot of garbage time stats there.
Yeah, in game 2. Sears was good. He may have been, he's up there as far as the best performance of the weekend. Let me ask you this. How much of it do you think was the A's pitching or bad hitting on the Mariners' part?
I think it was a lot to do with the pitching. I was really happy with how the pitching looked this series. I felt like all 4 pitchers, they were really able to place the ball where they wanted to. They were making great throws, and it was really tactical. And I feel like in years past, that was not the case these last few years since the 2021 core got really blown up. I feel like coming into the season, the A's were a better pitching staff away from being at least a wild card contender. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, I know it's early on, but I feel like they showed that this pitching staff showed that them alone can help improve this team tremendously record wise. And I think this team is going to be a lot better than people think.
I agree with you 100%. Rich, it's a shame one pitching mistake in game lost it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Sears, come on, but I agree with what you're saying, Rich. It does suck. That one pitching mistake does suck. That ended it. But at the same time, look at the hits we had, right? Blade had the opposite field hit that he stretched into a double. Wilson had the infield chopper hit. And then Soderstrom had the homer and then the base hit in the 9th. And that was it. That was literally it. I don't think we had another hard hit ball. Oh
no, not at all. Most of them were infield bloops.
Yeah.
And we're lucky that our guys, we have pretty good speed on the bases, so they were able to beat those out.
Yeah. 100%. Daniel S. Light, if they win tomorrow, today is forgotten.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's baseball for you. Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of games left. At the end of the day, I think Seattle right now, they're sitting there like, shoot, we got a split, And coming into it, like I said, I was hoping for the split, but
I feel the A's were definitely the better team throughout the series.
Yeah.
And a lot of it does have to do with that pitching.
Yeah. I don't know if there was much of a turning point. The game was pretty. Sears was dealing. Wu was dealing. He gave up the mistake to Soderstrom. I didn't think the game was going to end 1-0. And then Robles with his second infield hit, right?
Yeah.
And then Rodriguez was due. And obviously he hit a bomb. But like I said, if I was to pick to one inning or one play was probably, and again, there wasn't a whole lot of anything during the game. Was the third inning? Excuse me, was the second inning? Was that early? Huh? Top of two? Yeah. Was the top of two when even in the first inning, Crawford made a throwing error, sent Blade to second. I was like, okay, let's steal one early. And
that was crucial that they didn't get anything there. But I thought they would be able to rebound. And then when, like we talked about earlier, they weren't able to get those 2 runs in the second inning. And then it just kind of started to trickle down to where they weren't able to just get runs. They weren't able to get hits with runners in scoring position. You could just kind of see what kind of day this was going to be. And I mean, like they split the series, but they easily could have swept this if 1 or 2 plays just went in their direction.
Yeah. In Seattle has our number. I mean, Woo owned the A's. Combined, our hitters were about 118 against them. It was the same thing with last night as well. What do you think of Seattle's team? You like them?
I like their offense and I really like their pitching. But seeing what a lot of Mariner fans say on Twitter, they feel like they did not make enough additions to their offense. So they're kind of in a doomsday scenario with them right now. But I personally don't think they're that bad. I like the young hitters. I like obviously Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh. He had a slow start, but I'm still higher on him than like most people probably are.
Yeah. He's a platinum glove left-hander. I mean, he didn't do much damage during this 4-game series. I mean, no hitter really did, with the exception of Soderstrom. Rick, more than glad to have Seattle in spite of us playing that well against that rotation. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad Seattle's done with. I'm happy they're done with.
That's been a house of horrors for us, especially during that 2018 to 2021 stretch. We could never get wins in there. So the fact that this young A's team went into Seattle and got a split without playing their best baseball, that makes me confident about where this team is going and what they can become in the future.
What'd you think of that play in the bottom of the 8th when Butler and Rooker Butler and Blade went after that fly ball in center field and almost collided and there
was a lot of that this game, actually. It happened in the infield too with Schumann and who was next to Schumann today?
It was at second base was Schumann and Wilson.
Yeah, Schumann and Wilson. They did the same thing a couple innings earlier. No, you can't be making mistakes like that.
Yeah. Here's the thing with Butler. So Butler's real positive, real great, real awesome when things are going good for him. But when he was going south in the first half of last year, his whole demeanor and his whole attitude kind of was different. He tanked. Yeah. He was a bad teammate, the whole 9. And that's kind of my point. That's what I was seeing on that play, more than the mistake of them colliding. There didn't seem to be any communication between the two after it happened. That was a little bit more of my concerns. Like, okay, Butler, you had a rough series. You had a rough game. It was visible, and it seemed like he kind of a little bit took it out in the field. And that was a little bit more of my concern than the actual play itself. But, we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't carry over at all.
No, I don't think the fielding issues like that will continue. I think Kase should definitely just talk to them and tell them that they can't be doing that stuff. Yeah,
no, 100% right. Cubs series, what are you thinking, man? What's your expectations against a team like the Cubs? Going into it, we play a 3-game set at home. What's a successful series?
I want to say that they take 2 out of 3. That I would be really, really confident in this team if they take 2 out of 3. But the Cubs are a good young team. They have they have a good offense. They've made a lot of additions this offseason. I mean, they added Kyle Tucker, and I like a lot of their infielders. I like Nico Hornier. I like Suzuki in the outfield.
Yeah,
they're a great team to watch. And I was looking at the rotation tomorrow. I was looking at the pitching matchups, and I think we match up pretty well against them. We have
the only guy we're really going that's tough is we're missing Minanaga, if I didn't pronounce that correctly. We do miss him. We get Steele. Steele's tough. I don't know if they're going with a bullpen game tomorrow with shoot, I forgot on top of my head who's starting for them. But he didn't start any of the first games, and he came out of the bullpen against the Dodgers and overseas. So I'm not sure what their deal is as far as pitching goes. I know we're going Estes, Severino, and Springs.
Yeah, I'm really confident about that, especially after how Jeffrey Springs pitched 2 nights ago. He was lights out. So I'm excited to see if he can carry that over into his next start at home in Sacramento in front of the fans. I mean, yeah, dude, nothing would usher in this weird 3-year stretch of A's baseball in Sacramento like getting a good series win at the minor league ballpark and honoring Ricky. Dude, you have to win 2 out of 3.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What do you think of Estes on the bump tomorrow?
I mean, I like Joey Estes. He's just like a kind of a guy. I mean, he's just the guy that you kind of throw in there, bottom of the rotation. But yeah, I don't think he's that bad.
No, he's good. I mean, he's solid. He's he had a good second half last year when he was given his opportunity. He was given a second half. He was good in the second half. He had a complete game shutout against the Angels. He's a fly ball pitcher. It's going to help him tomorrow night because tomorrow night the weather is not supposed to be so great. But we'll see. He didn't have the best of springs. He got hit around a little bit, but I don't even know if that matters. I mean, I've been saying that about a lot. I thought Soderstrom was going to be awful coming into it because he had a terrible spring. So that tells you. Same with Springs. I thought the same thing with Jeffrey Springs as he got rocked. But on the positive side about today, Sears looked phenomenal. Sears looked really good.
Sears looked great.
Yeah.
Great placement. He was getting quick outs, especially early in the game. I thought the game was going to finish in like an hour and 40 minutes.
No kidding,
it was going through. Like he was zooming.
It was just literally one location pitch, man. It was a slider. I mean, both games 1 and games 4, it was sliders right over the middle of the plate that hurt us. Arena hit a bomb in game 1, and it was Julio, and both were just tattooed. I mean, both were just absolutely tattooed.
That Julio one was such a tank, like no doubt about it. That was going out.
Yeah. And he hasn't done. I mean, I think that was his second hit of the series. Guy hasn't done anything all series.
Oh yeah, he was horrible most of the series, and you can only keep a guy like Julio down so long. Like he was going to strike at some point, and the time he chose to strike just happened to be the worst possible time for the A's, and that's just what happens in baseball sometimes.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Yeah, absolutely. What's your outlook for the A's this year? How do you do you think they're going to contend for the division title? Or do you see them going around 500, maybe an 82 and 80, 82, 81, 81 type record? What do you see?
I think that they can contend for a wild card spot. I don't want to get too ahead of myself and say the division. I think that the Rangers are just way too good for the A's to compete with right now. But I think they can. I think they can finish third, and absolute best case scenario, everything goes well. All the young guys continue to hit throughout the season. Obviously, they'll have their slumps during the season, but for the most part, if this young core continues to develop, we get Geloff back, and his surgery doesn't hold him back too much and make him lose some productivity this year, I think the A's can really go 500, a little above 500, and compete for a wild card spot. But what's something that does scare me about the pitching staff, I know I was praising it earlier, but with how the ball flies in Sacramento, especially with guys like Estes, who are the fly ball pitchers, I think that's going to cause some problems later in the summer, especially as you have these powerful lineups coming in, like the Astros, the Yankees, and whatnot during that hot summer ball, hot summer air.
Yeah.
That's what scares me.
Yeah, that is a concern, no question about it. Do you see a possibility or a world where Kurtz comes up, and if we bring a guy like Kurtz up, right? So we got 2 issues now. So Ohtani's is going to get a spot when he comes off the IL, right? So whose spot is he going to take? Is it? I mean, what I mean, I don't know if it's right now the guy that we would have to release because he can't get sent down, and I can't imagine us doing that. Is Murdoch? But he's been lights out. We're not doing that after that first outing if he keeps it up.
Oh, yeah, quick shout out to Murdoch.
Absolutely.
That was a great outing in relief. In his MLB debut, 2 innings, came in a sticky situation and just got it done. That was awesome.
Pete, is that Ohtani's you're talking about? Hey, Nate Bone, 12 to 16 weeks? Is that how long he's out for Ohtani's? I did not know he was out that long, if that's the case.
Dang.
Huh. Do you see a world where we waive, let's say, Pareda and have Soderstrom as the backup catcher and bring up Kurtz?
Yeah, see, I was thinking about that before we got on here. What are we going to do when Kurtz gets called up? Because it seems like the way his trajectory is going, he is going to play in the majors at some point this year.
Right. I mean, but let's say it's the way it is right now because Kurtz isn't moving around the field, right?
No.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem with Kurtz and Soderstrom is Soderstrom can play only first base, and he actually played an impressive, a lot better first base than I thought. And he can play catcher. They played him at catcher. He was actually drafted as a catcher. And they played him at catcher a lot during spring training. Kurtz can't play anywhere else but first. So there's not a whole lot of places we can put them. The only way that would work is if
DH him, but then what does that do with Rooker? Because I know they want to keep Rooker at DH.
Right. Rooker also played some outfield as well this spring. Wait, hang on a second. Blade, Pete, you're saying Blade got hurt? No, he didn't get hurt. I didn't see anything like that.
I don't think Blade got hurt.
Oh. Yeah, so the only way that would work is if they have some sort of like Kurtz on Langoliers' day off, right? Langoliers' day off. Soderstrom would go behind the plate against a righty, let's say. Soderstrom behind the plate. Kurtz at first, right?
Yeah.
And you have DH, you have Brooker at DH still, right? That doesn't hurt anything. Or you can also do something where you're going Rooker and left, give Andahar a day off. Kurtz at first, Soderstrom DHing, or vice versa. You can do that.
I like that too. I was trying to do like the mental gymnastics of figuring out how you could get all 3 of those guys in the lineup at once.
Yeah, so you can do that because Rooker did play some left field. And, Andahar or Seth Brown's is nothing great in the outfield either way. So, so we can do that as well. So there's a number of things we can still do, but the equation would have to be with Soderstrom backing up Langoliers as catcher. So
the thing with that is, I feel like he won't get as many at bats as he should be, and we just kind of be like. I mean, kind of be wasting him.
Langoliers right now is going to be catching, and what he did last year, basically, he's caught probably every 8 to 10 days games, right? Unless there's a day off in between, right? So this series, for example, he caught 3 of 4. He's going to be in for the opener tomorrow. We have a day off on Thursday. He'll be back in there, right? So there's not going to be a whole lot of time where he's in there. Geloff is out half the season. Wow. Okay. I'm bummed for Geloff in that situation. As far as our lineup.
Yeah, dude, I was really looking forward to watch Geloff this year.
Yeah, me too. I like to see the way he came back. But Urias didn't get a whole lot of time. He only started 1 game. I think we're going to see a lot more Geloff. Muncy was good too.
So I mean, needs to get playing time.
So what's going to happen when Ohtani comes back? Is Muncy's going to get sent right back down? No, I mean, who's the guy who's going to be the odd man out?
Someone that shouldn't be getting set down is probably going to get set down, unless they do cut one of the older guys. But I don't know. I
mean, you're not going to cut anybody from the only guy I see getting waived is going to be Pareda. and that's not going to be for
Yeah.
Artanias. But we'll see what happens there. Maybe, but senior softball, the A's will be in a hitter-friendly park, but in actually Sutter ranks. You know what, Sutter? So here's the deal. I'm going to give you two things on Sutter Health Park. I went to a game when the River Cats played the Giants just last week. And a buddy of mine used to play for the River Cats, played for them for a number of years. When I was there, the ball was traveling. I know what you're saying with regard to the PCL numbers, and I thought for a while it was going to play neutral. When I went to the game and saw how the ball was carrying, has short fences in right field, not the biggest fences in left field. I think it's going to play before the summer months. It's going to play like 55 to 60% favoring the hitter. I think when we get to the summer months, it's going to be Colorado Part 2. I really do. When you're talking about minor league hitters, another thing you got to remember when you're comparing minor league hitters is you're taking a guy like Max Schumann, for example, right? He is your number 3 hitter in AAA, right? Where he's batting in the middle of the order, where now he's going to be your bottom. So there's a huge difference between major league hitters and minor league hitters. And I get the other arguments like, well, you have minor league pitching and major league pitching as well. Correct. But the power and the ability to put the ball on the bat is and drive the ball is just separate. Now, I hear you. I know what you're saying, Senior. I just don't think it's going to play like that. I don't think it's going to play like that. I think when you have major league hitters in there, I think the ball is going to absolutely fly when major league ball players are going to be in there in the summer months. You could be right. Listen, I'm not arguing with you. You could be right. But I, in my opinion, I think it's going to be play in April, May. It's going to be 55% favoring the hitters, 55 to 60. And I think in the summer months, it's going to be Colorado part 2. That's in my opinion. But hey, I've been wrong before. And I hear what you're saying with regard to the charts.
No, I agree with you on that. I mean, how many times since the A's had their AAA team in Vegas, have we had a hitter just go crazy in that ballpark? Because I mean, it's a similar situation there. The hot air, everything, balls flying. Then we would call them up to Oakland, and they couldn't hit a lick.
What Senior's saying, softball, the guy who's commenting is the River Cats are in that PCL league, right?
Yeah.
And history hasn't shown it's not backing up what I'm saying. And that's what he's saying right there. He's like, hey, it's the River Cats have not, and anybody for that matter, have not shown or backed up my type of statement. He's right what he's saying. I just think when major league players are going to be playing there, that's what I think is going to happen. But he could be right, I could be wrong. Well, we'll see what happens. But
no, he definitely has some valid points. But I am interested to see how the really big hitters, like the big power hitters, like Judge and all of them do when they come into the stadium.
What do you think of the speaking of the Judge and the 8? What do you think? They scored another 12 runs today with that barrel bat. Did you see that? They're hitting
it's interesting.
Yeah,
dude. I was when you really think about it, it's kind of surprising how long it took for them to even get to this point. Like moving the logo from the bat down lower on the bat, so the harder part of the wood is up on the top of the barrel, where the ball and the bat actually come in contact. Like it's like how did it take so long for somebody to think about it like that?
I don't know.
And it's completely illegal too because of whatever the diameter is of the base of the barrel. It's crazy. And I'm sure a lot of teams are gonna copycat that. I mean, imagine the A's with those bats at the stadium that they're playing at.
It will be a lot better than the Coliseum, but as far as Coors Sac has, I hear you. Senior, I'm with you, man. You could be 1,000% right. And I know I don't have a lot of validation or facts to back up my statement, but I'm sticking with it. I think it's going to be Colorado in the summer months in June and July. Hey, and if I'm wrong, I'll say, Senior, you're right and I'm wrong. And I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying for sure.
Yeah, Coors Park's in its own. Coors Park is in its own stratosphere when it comes to just the elevation and how far the ball flies there.
Right. No. You guys are right. But I'm a little. I don't know what to think about that Yankee deal, man. They scored 20 yesterday. Every single hitter used the bat though. So there's something to it, I don't know. I
think there's like more wood in the top part of the barrel.
In the barrel of the bat. So when you hit it, it's popping off. So I don't know how that's allowed. And I think it's something that Major League Baseball definitely needs to address.
Yeah. So you
only
think,
two of them? So I thought the whole lineup was using them. Was that fake news?
It might have been. I didn't watch any of the game. I didn't
watch any of it either.
All the buzz of it on social media about this bat and how they hired somebody specifically to look into this.
All right, Senior said yes. All right. Give me a little predictions for this series. Game 1, we got the kid for Chicago. Off the top of my head, I can't remember his name. Brown against Estes, 7:05 opening day. What do you think? Weather is not going to be the best.
Because they're honoring Ricky, I'm going to say they win tomorrow.
You think they're going to get the bats going, or is going to be another grind?
I think they're going to get the bats going. You got to get the bats going for Ricky.
Okay.
Start moving on the base pads. Then I think they have.
And then you got Severino against Steele. That's basically that's the A's number 1 against Justin Steele, Cubs number 2. You can actually even say that he's their ace as well.
I'm going to say the A's have like a slight letdown game and they lose that one, similar to how they lost this Mariners game. I don't think it'll be because of Severino. I'm just predicting that Steele is going to have a great game against our young lineup and they just fall short. And yeah, I just think that they'll fall short. Severino will pitch great, but overall, I think the team looks good.
You know what's crazy about the Mariners pitching staff is Justin Steele can't even be on their pitching staff. He wouldn't be on, and he's a good pitcher. He wouldn't be on their pitching staff.
They have a nasty rotation. And the fact that the A's the young A's team was holding their own against those guys, like Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller, Luis Castillo.
Yeah, no, 100%. Charlie, Jacob Wilson. Connor, did you see that play? It was, what was it? It was it was on a Friday night when Blade hit the little looper over the pitcher's head, little broken bat shot, landed over the pitcher's head, landed in front of the shortstop. It was first and second, 2 outs. Infield
was
hit.
It early in the game?
It was like, it was like in the 6th. And Wilson kept on rounding third base, just kept on going on the infield hit and scored. It was probably one of the biggest plays in that game, but that was pretty nutty. I agree with you, Rick.
Oh yeah, I was still driving home from work at that point since I was on the East Coast. So
right.
I was definitely listening to it though, so I didn't see it. But
okay, I'm with you. He's been hustling his tail off, that's for sure. Was the massive foul territory advantage? Yeah, it worked both ways though, Flea. It worked both ways.
Yeah,
what do you think of that Coliseum?
Having that weird, like all that foul territory to our advantage anymore. I'm gonna miss it. Yeah,
I mean, no, I'm with you. It worked both ways though. It worked both ways a little bit, and I love the Coliseum before they redid it. Before they redid it. Redid it. Before the Raiders, your team, decided Al Davis wanted what he wanted. Al Davis kind of ran the city of Oakland, man.
Oh, yeah.
So
that was before my time, but yeah, I've seen pictures of the old Coliseum before they added Mount Davis, and night and day, just way, way more beautiful before they added that big cement slab.
Yeah. Rick's
Let's go
from
another
Jersey.
East Coast A's fan.
Yeah, another East Coast A's fans. There might be more East Coast A's fans than we have Bay Area A's fans.
How is it there?
Rough, brutal. So it's really, really hard. as far as a fan base goes, right? Because right now we have Oakland fans. They don't want anything to do with the A's, right? Those that are, they don't want to really come out and say anything. I mean, being a Dodger fan is safer than being an A's fan right now in the Bay Area. So we have no fan base in the Bay Area whatsoever. Sacramento is rough too. I love the Sacramento fan base. I lived there for a little bit. I think they're awesome. I think the A's made a really, really big mistake by not using the Sacramento name. Because we're already in a position where the A's are staying in Sacramento for 3 years and they're on their way out. And Sacramento's fan base is awesome. Now you're taking away any identification to the city. I thought that was just a bad move. And the Vegas fans are great. They're awesome, but they're still 3 years away, So we're kind of the A's don't have much of a fan base whatsoever, right? It's very, very small. It's very small. And there's probably more fans spread around the country for the A's than there are in the Bay Area right now. Which is too bad, but that's the way it goes. But it's rough right now. It's rough out here.
Do you feel that this move is way different than when the Raiders left?
Yes, 1,000%, man. And I don't know. Like for me, I think part of it has to do. It was the last sports team, and the other reason is Fisher. Fisher's a perfect villain, right? He's the billionaire kid that was given all this money, that doesn't talk publicly or to the press, and that comes off very, very smug, right?
Yeah, and so he's a lot.
He's a perfect villain. And for whatever reason, in Oakland when they left, it was the second time leaving. And for whatever reason, the Raiders, to me, got a pass, right? They left, and there was a little bit, but it is nothing close to this. And for me, Oakland, the Raiders were always number one for Oakland. It wasn't close. And then second place was the Warriors. And then a distant third were the A's. Yeah. And now there's an outroar? Come on, man. So I think part of it, I think a lot of it has to do with Fisher. That's a lot of it. If Joe Lacob did the same thing and moved them to Vegas, did the exact same thing, I think it makes sense for Joe business-wise. Look what he's done with the Warriors. It would be that. But it's Fisher, the heir to the Gap type of deal, and who, quote unquote, hasn't worked for anything. So, and what also hurt them, the A's, was 2021 to 2023, where it just felt like, when you're at the bottom of payroll is one thing, but when you're sitting at 30 million and the next team up is like at 70, that's saying something else, right? And however you want to say that, whether it's business or some other reasons for it. And then also, Fisher not paying players, minor league players during COVID, came out in the press. So there's a lot of bad things that really hasn't helped Fisher.
No.
Fisher has not done himself any favors.
Oh no, like they did everything they could to alienate the fan base, is what I believe. And they didn't even try to hide it either. I mean, you even hear all those guys from the 2018 to 2021 core talk about it. You hear Chris Bassett all the time. You've heard Chapman, Paulson, Simeon, all of them say, yeah, man, we all wanted to stay there. We felt like we could really win here, but they felt like the front office didn't have the intention of winning. Like if they would have just added one more piece, one more pitcher.
So I agree with you. From 20, actually, it was even 21 they won. They almost made the playoffs in 21. 22 to 24. I felt like once Vegas was viable, he kind of packed it in. Previous to that, I mean, they made the playoffs 11 times since 2000, seventh most in all of baseball.
Yeah, people don't realize that.
People don't realize that they were winning. So in that sense, I don't agree entirely. But as far as just how Fisher was, like I said, he didn't do himself any favor. And also, here's where I feel the big mistake was. The fans didn't point, or in the Bay Area media did not put the city of Oakland and the Oakland government on call. They didn't call them out once at all. You got to remember, in 2019, Dave Cavill worked with Nancy Skinner to write legislation in order to fund Howard Terminal. This was sent to Gavin Newsom in mid-2019. Gavin Newsom signed it into law, right? Yeah. Granted, COVID happened. From 2019 to 2021, nothing was done. When something was done, Oakland hired an outside consulting firm to calculate the subsidy. The subsidy they calculated was $400 million. Remember how Oakland government kept going back and forth with the A's on who's paying for this and who's paying for that?
Going nowhere.
Right? So the amount was $400 million. The actual number was $2.5 billion.
Yeah, that's
miscalculated. They miscalculated. They corrected it 2 years later, right?
Yeah.
By that time, it was
Too
over.
late. Yeah.
And the fans went after Major League Baseball. I think Manfred really got upset and angry and took it personally, because from 2016 to 2021, Manfred had the city of Oakland's back. He publicly came out and admonished Fisher for how they handled Laney College. He publicly stated how the A's should stay in Oakland. So when he felt they kind of turned on him and gave the city a pass and the media pass, Manfred was like, screw this. And he's all, this is BS. And he said, hey, forget about it. And it ended any hope of the Oakland getting a expansion team or anything like that. So, it's a shame. It really is. But to me, it's crazy how the city of Oakland and the government got a pass through all of this.
No, it's crazy. I mean, it says something when you lose all three of your sports teams within a decade. I mean, I know the Warriors only went to the other side of the Bay, but the fact that you had all three of these teams in Oakland in 2017, and now it's only 8 years later and they're all gone. I mean, you can point fingers at really anybody. You can point fingers at politicians. You can point fingers at Fisher, Cavill. Nobody is truly innocent, and everybody deserves part of the blame for how it fell through. Yeah.
Pete, part of the Lake of success, Steph added historic player. Without those titles, we're still. I mean, he made some moves. You got to remember when they traded for Andrew Bogut. Andrew Bogut was a player back then in their first world title run. He was a former number one pick. He was a stud. Harrison Barnes was a Warriors draft pick. David West was a really, really good player. Andre Iguodala, he made some moves. Everyone, yes, absolutely. You got to have a guy like Steph Curry. You got to have a guy like Klay Thompson. There's no question about it. But Lacob at the same time, I think, went out and got different type of players that were stars. Andre Iguodala was a star. Kevin Durant, that goes without saying. Andrew Bogut was a star at that time. He didn't last long for the Warriors, but he was a star at that time and a key piece for them winning. But yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
You have to have Monte Ellis for him, right? If I remember correctly.
Yes, good call. Yes. Very nice. Milwaukee. Absolutely. Very good call.
I'm a Lakers fan, but I did like watching those Warriors teams in the early 2010s before they really became what they are now with Monte Ellis and Steph Curry. Those were some fun teams.
Yeah, 100%. Patrick, Bay Area native, lifetime A's fan, will always. Yeah. What's your opinion on that, Connor? As far as the here's another thing with the Bay Area, like I was saying earlier. The A's are out of Oakland. We no longer support them. We want nothing to do with them. We got betrayed. And for me, I wouldn't do that regardless. But for me, when the A's were always treated third, it's like but at the same time, it's like, what am I supposed to do? Just not root for baseball? So what do you think of that attitude? Does it hold any merit? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, when you grow up loving a team for as long as you have, it's hard to just drop them. I know a lot of my closest friends that are from the Bay Area, they were initially like, I'm done supporting the A's as well. They were in that same boat. But recently, a couple weeks ago, they were saying, yeah, I just love this team too much. I can't drop them. And they're just going to still support the team. I mean, it's different for me since I live in Virginia. I do empathize with the fans in the Bay Area that are going through that. But like just seeing how like hostile it's been just on social media, it's been kind of crazy.
It's been crazy. Yeah.
Like people are getting like if you say something about the A's on social media, you'll have a couple people in your replies saying how you're like a bootlicker and stuff for like supporting the A's still. But I mean, you can sit on this like virtual mountain if you like this virtue signaling mountain all you want, but if you're gonna sit there and like bash the people for still supporting the team that they've loved their entire lives, like you're no better than those people to me.
No, I agree. And it's a situation where there's nothing we could really do about it, right? It's I think a big misconception in sports franchises and sports teams is the public, and a lot of people think that it's some sort of outreach program or a public entity, right? This is a private corporation. This is a private entity from every bit of it. And their number one goal is to make money. And there's a lot of hypocrisy into it too, right? Because I think if you have your own business, if I have my own business or whatever you do, your whole goal is to make money. Right.
Exactly.
And I don't buy the excuse and the thing, well, he's a billionaire. He can afford it. Does it suck that they left? Sure. Yeah, it does. Okay. Absolutely. Is there anything we can do about it? No. And is there anything that anybody else can do about it? If we choose to make a decision on our own business, on your own job, I mean, what am I going to do? Hey, Connor, don't go work there. Don't work there. What are you doing? I mean, I have no business doing it. It is your thing. So yes, this is more in the public light. It's a little bit different, but it's really not. So anyway, it is what it is. Flea, I always praise showing the truth of what really happened, Boonie. It's crazy how the city bent out backward for the Raiders. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thanks, Flea. The Raiders, I get the Raiders was the NFL. I understand that. I get it. And I mean, I don't know what to think. I was a kid when the SF Giants almost moved to Tampa. That's what that actually hurt the A's with that move is when Walter Haas actually gave the Giants territorial rights to San Jose in order to sweeten the deal and keep the Giants in the Bay Area.
And then they stabbed us in the back.
Unreal, huh? I mean, Giants have some blood on their hands.
No, I will never support the Giants in anything ever. I always say this might be a crazy take and like blasphemy for some A's fans to hear, but if the Astros and the Giants met in the World Series, I'd probably root for the Astros. Or any AL West team, I'd probably root for them. That's the only time if they were facing the Giants.
The thing with the Giants, though, is they have those 3 world titles, man. And who they won it with, it's like, how can you not like those guys? Like Buster Posey and Madison Bumgarner and Lincecum and Matt Cain.
There were some cool teams.
Brian Wilson. Jesus. They were just, it was hard not to be part. I mean, I'm from the peninsula in the Bay Area, so this is all Giants territory. They don't even know the A's exist, but I went to a lot of those games, and of course, when Bonds was playing, I went to a lot of those too. I mean, he was pretty amazing as well. But yeah, I don't know really what to make of it, but I'm with you, man. I mean, it's too bad, and especially this team is a lot of fun. I guess what I don't understand, what I'll never get is two things I hate about this whole thing is RD Moss. Yeah, Ruiz got the boot today. He did. Yeah, I mean, but who the thing was, you can't. The kid they got, right, 6'8" kid, was an absolute stud prospect in 2016. He actually was in the A's organization for Lansing. Really good. He in 2023, he pitched like 30 innings, 3.3 ERA, 40-something strikeouts. He was really good. RD Mouse, I think what made them make that move was right now in the A's bullpen as far as a left-hander is TJ McFarland, and he shouldn't be your number one lefty to go to. Scott Alexander actually was last year. The other guy I'm hoping to do that role is Hogan Harris, and he had a rough outing last night. You don't have anybody really in AAA as far as a left-hander that can come up out of the pen. So there's a reason why I get that. I understand he went 3 for 3. He was a stud, and but who do you need a left-hander in the A's pen? Who are you going to get? That's the question. It's not. I agree with you with Estory, but who's Estory going to take? What place is Estory going to take as far as is on the big league roster? Right. Look at our outfielders right now. We have Andahar, Rooker, DH, but he plays some outfield. Rooker, Blade, yes, Seth Brown, who's on contract. He's not going anywhere. Right. Those are basically our outfielders right now going on. So Estory is not taking any of those places, right?
I get that.
You know, so who would SD take the spot of, right? Denzel Clark is another outfielder that's playing. He's still a prospect. He's not going to be ready for another year or two, probably until 2028. Unfortunately, I agree with you on Este. I liked him a lot. It's a shame that just 2 years ago he led the American League in stolen bases. He was a stud. And all of a sudden now we're releasing him. He had an awful spring, but yeah, like RD said, he's on fire his first 2 games. He's hitting 500. I just, the thing that bothers me with SD and why this is an issue now is how he got sent down after last year, you know, after his first couple of games. He had a great spring. He was on fire to begin the season. He just never felt like he got his opportunity. So I understand the gripe, but I don't think there's anybody right now on the roster that he's going to take somebody's spot on. So
no, yeah, like I'm totally fine with him not being on the roster now. It's more so for me just how he kind of got a raw deal in 2024. I mean, yes, the A team was building for the future, and you see some of the guys that were getting at bats. Like you're telling me that Estory Ruiz couldn't get some of those at bats that were going to JD Davis or Aledmus Diaz for that little bit of time.
Yeah,
and even Abraham Toro. Like,
but the thing about Ruiz, that was, I mean, all those guys you mentioned, I agree with. They're all infielders. The problem with Esty is he didn't really have a position. He was a below average outfielder, right?
Just fast.
He needed to be the type of guy that hit around 280 or walked a ton and got on base, and he just was not, man. He just was not.
I did not like the way he approached the plate at all. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, some of the guys that did get their opportunity last year, it was crazy, but I just didn't know where you play SD. That's the whole thing, man. You know, that's the problem, but that's the way it goes, man. That's the way it goes. That's for sure, man. Hey, hang tight. Thanks, everybody. Let's go A's tomorrow, home opener. Let's go get them. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you, fellas.